Why doesn't Chabad use the yad for a sefer Torah?
I don't know, but I don't know is not if we don't use. When I grew up, there were no Yodas in Lubavitch. We didn't have Yodas in the Sefer Torah. Bechlal in Lubavitch, there were no decorations for a Sefer Torah. I'm a Crown Heitzer, and I grew up in the 70s. And for those who could remember the Crown Heights from the 70s, there was direct instructions from the Rebbe that we should not daven in Beis Chayenu, we should not daven in 770, but instead we should daven the local shuls so we could support the shuls, which at that time were falling apart as people were leaving the community and people were passing away. Those shuls are now Lubavitcher shuls, but I grew up in those shuls, Mahuvim, Kal Chasidim, and they all had sfarim with decorations. They didn't have crowns, so they had these two tall silver decorations with bells that you put on top of the Sefer Torah. A lot of them had a breastplate, a Choisher Mishpat, a silver plate that you went over the front of the Sefer Torah, which all kinds of beautiful decorations. In Lubavitch, there was nothing. Yeah, when the Rebbe made Mashiach Sefer Torah, the Rebbe ordered a crown, and he personally put the crown on the Sefer Torah. It was a big shock. It was out of character, because Lubavitch has always thought that this is, Polish Achitonius, and all of a sudden the Rebbe gets literally a gold and silver crown, a beautiful crown. And of course, since that time, it's become the Chabad custom to decorate a Sefer Torah with a keser, with a crown. And the understanding is that the reason before there were no ksarim on Sefer Torah was they couldn't afford it, or they connected to Amaisa with the Alter Rebbe. But the idea that you're supposed to decorate a Sefer Torah with silver and gold, the Rebbe, so to speak, brought back into Minig Chabad that we should do it. And at a certain point, it was in the early 80s, early mems, that the Rebbe said a Sefer Torah has to have a yad. The Rebbe specifically spoke about by Fabrengen. I was not in New York at the time, but I remember hearing the Chazara, I remember the conversation. So okay, so they put a yad in the Sefer Torah and nobody uses it. I don't think the Rebbe put a yad in the Sefer Torah for another decoration. I think the Rebbe wants people should use the yad. I'm not a Balkeda, I occasionally lane, and I would much prefer to have a yad that helps concentration. It helps the person who you're reading it with to be able to see what you're saying. The Balkeda in 770, who happened to be my grandfather, Rabbi Shusterman didn't use a yad. I don't think he didn't use a yad because it wasn't a min in Chabad. He didn't use a yad because he didn't need it. Whatever his reasons were. But, the Rabbeim used to say, I'm a mishtech nicht in Gabos. The Rebbe said it many times, that the Rebbe Rashab used to say, they don't mix into how the shul runs, which means that not everything that happened in 770 is necessarily minig Chabad. It's the minig of 770 shul, established by whomever. But to me, when the Rebbe encouraged to use ksarim, which is what we all do, and when we make a siyum sefer Torah today, everyone gets a keser, silver, and if you can afford it, you get it gold. And then later on, the Rebbe himself spoke about the idea of having a yad. I don't think that yad was meant to be a decoration. I think the yad was meant to be used. If somebody knows something that I don't know, please share. But this is the way I see it.